LeRoy Neiman was in top form with an expensive cigar and a classy lady. He appears right at home, signing autographs and meeting people. And speaking of people, people are attracted to Neiman, and of course, his work. The American artist has long been associated with the Olympic Games and paintings of major sports figures. I asked Neiman how he got to be so good. He said starting at an early age has had a lot to do with his success.
If you start doing it real young, your motor ability develops. And then if you're lucky and you get a good education and you learn the fundamentals and the process of your craft and you really get it down, the history of art. I'm giving you a lecture now. But if you get your history of art and if you get get the drill, the conditioning to learn how to do it so you really know how to do it, then you go out into the world and you hit the whole scene.
What are your plans? What are your goals for the future?
All I want to do is keep going. I want to enjoy what I do, and I want to paint the good things about life. The people that look the best, the people that do the things the best, the big scene. And this is big-time Oklahoma right here. You know, that university, every time Oklahoma plays football, the whole nation pays attention.
Neiman is both storyteller and painter. He uses the sensation of actual motion to give greater truth to mere visual motion. He makes his figures move through color and this explosive painting technique. His outstanding work will be on view during the State Fair. Ben McCain, Action 4, downtown Oklahoma City.
For the second day in Midwest City, people put their trash out for collection, and it sat there because all but one of the city's sanitation workers did not come to work today. It's in protest against Midwest City officials for not allowing the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Union to represent sanitation workers. But the garbage trucks did get rolling later in the day after talks between the city manager and workers broke down. Substitutes came from other departments within the city, and officials say permanent replacements are now being sought. At a news conference, some of the sanitation workers told of what led to them leaving.
We met with the city manager this morning and requested that he meet with us as a group, not on an individual basis. His last proposal was that we meet individually or leave the premises or be arrested. We had no choice but to leave or go to jail. We are not children to be taken into an office and scolded individually. We are men and women and want to be treated like adults. We are requesting to be recognized as a union and that the city sit down and bargain with us as a union.
The sanitation workers want union status first before anything else, and then they want better benefits. The workers plan to go back to work Monday with the same demands, but what they don't know is the city manager has already fired them.
Their final status with the city will be determined as of Monday, and if they do show up here Monday morning, they will be notified of it at that time.
Which is?
That I believe at this point, I think it could be safely determined that they've abandoned their jobs.
In other words, they're fired.
They're subject to termination. Certainly the final decision has not been made on that, but that's certainly the indication at this point.
City officials say there will still be some delays in picking up the trash in Midwest City. For example, if trash is normally picked up on Mondays and Thursdays, it will be picked up on Fridays instead. And if the trash is normally picked up on Fridays, it will be picked up on Tuesday. As for the workers who didn't show up for work today, the city leaders are recommending to them when they do show up here Monday to go next door to the state unemployment office. Ed Stewart, Action 4, the Midwest City Sanitation Department.
Zoo amphitheater concerts have their troubles. All the people create parking problems, and security has to be there to protect concert goers from each other. But zoo officials have overcome both problems with expanded parking and tight security around the grounds. But complaints still come in, mostly now from people living across the street. They don't like the noise. Well, that's what zoo officials are testing for tonight. If the band gets louder than the city allows, they turn it down.
If the readings are high, excessively high over what the ordinance permits, we'll turn the music down, and the band understands this.
Based on this reading, are you going to go in and turn the music down?
Well, we've got one more reading to take inside the gate to see what the decibel level is there so we can correlate the two, and then we'll let the band know if they need to turn it down there.
The readings at the gate registered a little high, so true to their word, they headed backstage to turn it down. Zoo officials admit they would like to continue holding the concerts. Some of the money made goes toward maintaining the zoo itself, so they say it's important to keep their neighbors happy, even if it means keeping the volume lower than some music lovers would like. Ted Brown, Action 4 at the Zoo Amphitheater.
Northeastern Fork, which was not declared commercial until sometime.
The majority of the people who will have to pay these bills have had no increase in their incomes and won't have.
I have enough trouble with bills now. I have to work nights to support myself.
And it'll hurt them in the food line eventually. If they have to pay their electric bill, they can't eat what they want. Now, this isn't for me, this is for some of my friends.
Thelma Hayes was in the Logan County Courthouse today at a preliminary hearing on charges of perjury. Before Judge Merle Smith could start the hearing, defense attorney for Roger Dale Hayes approached the bench to be heard. He wants the hearing postponed. Roger, who is the brother-in-law of Thelma, has been convicted of first-degree murder. It was back in March of this year when the murder trial of Roger Dale Hayes started. He was found guilty of killing 9-year-old Carrie Kendall, who had been reported missing by her family for several days. The prosecution called a number of witnesses, including Thelma Hayes. It was partly due to Thelma's testimony that a conviction was handed down. But when Roger Dale's attorney filed for a new trial, prosecutors say Thelma had a different story now. And today Judge Smith was given trial transcripts to see just what did Thelma say on the stand while under oath. Roger Dale's attorney is arguing if Thelma Hayes is found guilty of perjury, it would hurt Roger's case if a new trial is granted, because he would want to put Thelma on the stand, but next time for the defense.
It's a possibility if the proceedings take certain turns, it could seal Thelma's lips to give evidence as an eyewitness to a murder.
Because of why? Why would that seal her lips?
Well, if they convicted her of perjury and did not clarify whether her perjured testimony was at the trial that convicted Roger Hayes, then it could affect her credibility.
Judge Smith has given attorney McAnally until Thursday to formally file a motion on why he thinks the Thelma Hayes perjury proceedings should be stopped. In the meantime, Judge Smith will look over sworn testimony given by Thelma on 2 different occasions to decide if they contradict each other. Ed Stewart, Action 4 at the Logan County Courthouse.
I think it would be dangerous for Rita Silk-Nauni to be out on the streets. I don't know. When the original bond was set at $100,000, everybody assumed that she wouldn't be out. She made that bond. And so I'm concerned at this time that history doesn't repeat itself.
Family wasn't able to make the bail before. I don't know how their situation has changed any since that time.
You clear behind me?
Step out of the way, please.
I'll get out of the way, please.
Midwest City is still playing catch-up and trying to collect garbage for homes and businesses. The plan is simple, just to collect as much trash every day as possible with the workers available. Those workers are just a fraction of the city's regular sanitation crews, and the rest are city employees from other departments. Sanitation workers missed some days at work after city officials refused to let them organize a union. Most were fired when they said they would not come back to work under the city's terms. The city manager says the firings are definite and permanent.
So far as the city's position on the employees that were dismissed, many of the employees indicated to me that although I'd granted them the opportunity to appeal, that they were not interested in appealing, that they would not come back to work for the city under the terms and conditions of having to accept any type of unauthorized leave for the 2 days that they didn't work, for a day that they refused to work, and that they would not accept any type of probation, that they wanted reinstatement with something considerably less than that. We are now in the process of hiring temporary hires, that many of whom we hope we'll be able to make permanent, and we're trying to fill the positions as quickly as possible.
City officials in Midwest City are asking residents to be patient. Their trash will be picked up. And although the 32 people have been fired, City Manager Irving Frank says they are going to be replaced. In fact, there will be some special drop-off points this weekend for residents in Midwest City to drop off their trash. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in Midwest City.
And Dr. Magno will give you the real story.
Because as you all know, you get the fast patient at hand. So the best.
In this movie, Zorro is a zero. I'm sorry, but the notion of a gay Zorro is not funny to me. Now, George Hamilton portrays the two Zorros, who are twin brothers. One's straight, the other's, you know. Now, let me say this. George Hamilton really works hard at making things work in this movie. As the straight brother, Zorro number 1, Don Diego Vega, he is admirable and likable. And as Zorro number 2, get this name, Bunny Wigglesworth, Hamilton is also likable and for a very few minutes funny. The film provides a couple of good chuckles, particularly in the first half of the film. But the second half, the gags, the plot, the action, the whole thing just runs out of steam.
Spread the news that he is back.
I'm not even going to tell anyone that you left. Now, the overall premise of the movie goes something like this. The father, the original Zorro, dies. Don Diego is called back to old Los Angeles to find his father has left him, you know, the cape, mask, black costume, the whole schmeal. His job is to fight for truth, justice, and the American way. Oh, wait, that's the wrong movie. Run the clip.
Oh, senor, how can we ever thank you?
Your gratitude is thanks enough.
Before you leave, please, may we know your name so we can include you in our prayers.
Tell me, how long will you live in this district?
All my life.
And you'll stay informed of the local events, the news, and the gossip?
Si, senor.
Ah, bueno, bueno. You recognize that famous sign, huh?
Oh, yes, senor. It is a number 2.
That is not a 2, that is a Z.
Oh, if you say so, senor. But in the school, that is how they teach my granddaughter to draw a 2.
Well, I say it is a Z for El Zorro.
Now you know, he is to help the poor villagers. It seems that his childhood friend, Esteban, played by Rod Liebman, is the town's crooked leader. He is so obnoxious in this movie. He shouts all of his lines. Now, it was bad enough trying to understand George Hamilton's accent, but with Liebman showing his teeth all the time, I thought I was watching another werewolf picture. After one fight, Don Diego injures his foot, and his twin brother, Bunny, arrives to take over the Zorro chores. One of the few funny bits in the film is when Wigglesworth changes Zorro's wardrobe a bit. You see him transform the swashbuckler into a swishbuckler, wearing his costumes in the colors of green, plum, red, all the colors of the rainbow. Now, as for the other characters, the love interest, Lauren Hutton, puts in a B+ performance. As Ron Liebman's wife, Brenda Vaccaro, she gets on my nerves, and that's that. But George Hamilton does get an A for trying. This movie did show me one thing, as in his last film, Love at First Bite. He is a good comic actor. He just needs a better script, a better director, and plot to work with. Zorro the Gay Blade starts out all right, but quickly loses its edge and becomes dull. The movie's still Z for zero.
Residents even pitched in to help. They were so happy to see a trash truck on their streets again. After a 2-week-old strike by Midwest City sanitation workers, trash collections are starting to return to normal. The city has replaced most of the striking workers with temporary employees or workers from other city departments. However, there are still some problems.
Insofar as collections goes in Midwest City, we have run the residential routes. We're having some problems with some missed streets. We have 3 trucks out now at 5:15 or 5:30 in the afternoon, which is very uncommon. Normally all the trucks are back in the barn by now, so we're out picking up misses. I put the directions out to my people that we're to stay out until dark tonight and work tomorrow if necessary.
The city has enough people to run the routes. The problem is they haven't learned them yet. Consequently, they're still a little slow getting around, and they do miss a street occasionally. If you're having trouble getting your trash collected, you can take it yourself to some central pickup points over the weekend. They are the Heritage Park Mall parking lot, Greenhaw's Discount Foods, Regional Park Baseball Diamond, Brand Mobley, City Service Center, and Bicentennial Park. Ted Brown, Action 4 in Midwest City.
First and go. Oh my God!
After being confined inside the Oklahoma County Jail for more than a week, convicted killer Rita Silk-Nauni is being moved. Officials sent her to the Lexington Assessment Center today, before Silk-Nauni will then be transferred back to the Oklahoma State Prison in McAlester. Her supporters were unable to raise $100,000 needed for Silk-Nauni's appeal bond. processing is not expected to take long in Lexington, and so prison officials are already prepared for her arrival there. Criticism has grown every day since District Judge William Myers still allowed no night bond after her arrest. So today, the Oklahoma County Bar Association called a news conference in Myers' defense. The association says by law, Judge Myers cannot defend his actions in public because the case is still under appeal. And it says Myers granted the bond because by law, he had no other choice.
Judge Myers was simply unable to, in effect, reverse the decision by the Court of Criminal Appeals setting the bond at $100,000. And I think the point is that if that bond at this point is inappropriate, then the proper place to go to get some change made in that is the Court of Criminal Appeals, not the local district judge, who unfortunately is being criticized.
The association says it does not side with one side or the other in the no-night case, but wanted to set the record straight about what the law is. Ed Stewart, Action 4 at the Oklahoma County Bar Association.
Determine whether a bond was appropriate.
I'm Ed Stewart. With the daylight, damage could clearly be seen, and it was certain nothing would be salvageable after the fire. Even cars outside the fourplex building were gutted, and fortunately the flames never reached the gas tanks. Officials do have an idea of who started the blaze and are now searching for those responsible, while the members of the 4 families who lived here are searching for memories and a new place to live. Precious time was lost when water hoses were hooked up to fire hydrants that had no water or low water pressure. There's no way of telling how much of anything could have been saved if these hydrants had been working properly. There are 8,500 fire hydrants in Oklahoma City, and at any given one time, about 600 of the fire hydrants don't work properly. Unfortunately, firefighters don't know that in many cases until there's a fire and the hydrants are needed. But what's being done to make sure these things work when they're needed?
We just can't replace 8,000 hydrants in the city.
The water department tells us a shortage of manpower and spare parts makes it hard to ensure all the hydrants are working.
We have to remove an old hydrant, put a new hydrant in, and then use the parts from that old hydrant to find and repair a hydrant of the same make and about as many years old as the one we removed, and sort of cannibalizing hydrants as we go to try to keep them in service.
The fire department is now checking all hydrants in Oklahoma City to see what kind of condition they're in. It's time-consuming, and sometimes a hydrant may check out okay one day and have problems a week later. But overall, the hydrant checks are helpful to avoid what could be a disaster if a particular hydrant is out of water when it's needed to put out a fire. Ed Stewart, Action 4, Oklahoma City.
There's only one way to shrink the size and cost of big government, and that is by eliminating agencies that are not needed and are getting in the way of a solution. Now, we don't need an energy department to solve our basic energy problem. As long as we let the forces of the marketplace work without undue interference, the ingenuity of consumers, business, producers, and inventors will do that for us. Similarly, education is the principal responsibility of local schools, systems, teachers, parents, citizen boards, and state governments. By eliminating the Department of Education less than 2 years after it was created, we can not only reduce the budget, but ensure that local needs and preferences, rather than the wishes of Washington, determine the education of our children.
assist the FBI or make findings like that.
I think that's one misconception. We have now a multi-year procurement. Many of them are going bankrupt. And
in the entire process, if we're going to maintain a high state of readiness, if we're going to procure systems wisely, one thing we have to do is enforce contracts. And I think there's been a real positive action there, and I think it's been a mistake to by the government not to enforce them any better. And I think there's going to be renewed emphasis there.
Motorists who speed and rely on radar interference devices to protect them need to be aware of a new law that goes into effect this Thursday. Beginning October 1st, it will be against the law for any person to operate a motor vehicle equipped with a device that jams or distorts radar signals or transmits a signal capable of being received by radar. And it will also be a violation to manufacture, advertise, or sell such a device. Any person convicted of such an offense can be fined up to $200. The law specifically exempts CB radios and apparently does not apply to simple radar detectors which do not transmit a signal. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs.
It takes a lot of dedication to be a member of the Ice Capades. They're on the road almost year-round. And it seems like they're always performing or practicing for a performance. They are considered the beautiful people. They're slim, they're trim, and everything they do seems to be exciting.
There were 3 people that were back around the 8th marker when it turned around and came back. You must all come up, stop in a straight line, hitch, push back, and form that all together. Kick line is sloppy. Okay, I want to see those kicks sharp. Take it from the same place again with the music, and I want to see you people grab a hold.
The most exciting portion of the Ice Capades program is when the girls are flying. It's also the most dangerous. Just watch and you'll see why.
1, 2, 3, 4, up 5.
It really is a very dangerous part of the show because we're suspended in air by thin cables, and if you don't have competent people flying you, it can be very dangerous too. It is very likely that a wire could break at some time, and there have been a couple little disasters, but no fatal injuries as of yet.
The Ice Capades, a tradition. Skaters just like these have been entertaining crowds around the world more than 40 years. The tradition is bound to continue because people love to be entertained, and this group knows exactly how to do it and do it in style. Ben McCain, Action 4 at the State Fairgrounds Arena.